is an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Unspoiled, covering Doctor Who, Season 2, Episode 8, The Idiot's Lantern. In this episode, TV will rot your brain, kids, and it'll come pouring out of your ears like oatmeal. That's what TV does. I actually really liked this episode a lot. Welcome to Unspoiled. Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm Natasha.
I was not expecting that because I don't like this episode very much at all.
I really liked it, and you know what? I'll be honest. It might be because of how creepy this was because of when we're recording it. So normally Jaime and I record. Hi, everybody. I'm Natasha.
I'm Jaime.
Normally Jaime and I record on Thursdays. And last week she was going to be out of town, so we recorded on a Monday. So there's been a longer break than usual between the last one and now. And I watched the episode this morning for the first time. And 3 days ago, I had one of those nightmares that stays with you. The kind of nightmare that you think about in the middle of the day and get creeped out again by it. And this bore such a weird resemblance to the nightmare that I had that I think it just came off as extra creepy in a way that really it did not deserve to. I don't think it earned that. I think it was just perfect timing for me in particular to see it and be kind of freaked out by it.
In your dream, did people not have faces?
In the dream, people clawed their own faces off.
Natasha, what is the matter with you?
You know, I've written about some of the dreams that I've had on Facebook.
Yes.
So you know how they can get. And guys, my dreams are full on fucking movies with soundtracks and the whole thing. This dream, the premise of it was that I was in this room with a group of people. A phone rings and an older woman picks it up. And that was the other part, was that in my dream, the first victim was an old woman. And in this, it's their grandma.
Yeah. And
the old woman picks up the phone and she gets a look on her face of such complete terror that you could feel it. And she starts screaming and she puts her hands up to her face like she's screaming and trying almost to hold her own mouth closed. Like she can't control the fact that she's screaming, and digs her nails in and begins to scrape the skin right off of her face.
My God.
And that's the beginning of that dream. And from then on, the premise was that there was some sound that somebody played on the phone that tapped into this deep fear center in your brain. And someone had figured out how to put that sound into a portable system. And people were passing out these little lockets out on the street, on the subway, they'll hand out little roses and stuff. And they were handing them out to random people and causing this weird breakdown in society of people who were terrified and they did not recover. So there were, you were seeing people being led down the street screaming to some place where they would be out of the way, but there was nothing to be done for them. These people being just put in a warehouse basically. And they never came. And it was sort of the impression that I got in the dream was that they simply were going to be as frightened as it's possible to be until they died. That they were never going to get out of that.
Do you talk to your therapist about these dreams?
Nope.
I would just be curious to know because usually your dreams are, it's like your brain is having an info dump of everything you've taken in for a while. Mm-hmm. I believe. And so I'm just curious what makes your brain make these kind of stories.
Probably the state of the United States at this moment.
I mean, that's probably part of it.
I think that me realizing that things are probably not going to get better in my lifetime and then I'm going to die and I will have lived feeling angry and like helpless my entire life and die that way. I think that's probably what fed into that.
I hate that, and it makes me want to hug you because not that I disagree, but I can't allow myself to think that way. I'm just too...
Well, that's what happens when you don't let yourself think that way. It comes out in your dreams, Jamie. Do you think that I consciously want to think that? My body is just like, oh, we'll figure it out. We'll do it.
I just don't... My nightmares aren't... None of my dreams are as vivid as any that you've described. And a lot of times they feel very real, and I'll wake up like scared and trying to figure out like what the hell just happened. And often I can't remember great detail. Mm-hmm. And sometimes
I feel like a lot of people, like that's how Owen is. He rarely remembers anything about his dreams.
Mine usually just slip away. And I've woken up like terrified before, or like feeling like I'm having a panic attack, and I'll realize like, oh, that was because of that dream. Mm-hmm. And I'll remember it for a couple of minutes, and I'll fall back to sleep and completely forget about it.
I wish. Ugh, I really do.
I so rarely remember in like very vivid detail. Although we were speaking about Lord of the Rings before we started recording, and the most vivid dream I ever had was that I was sitting at some kind of cafeteria lunch table, and Elijah Wood was sitting there, and he kept making this like horrible noise, and my friend was like, why is he doing that? And I was like, well, you know that wound will never heal.
Damn.
And I woke up and just started laughing. So I was like, I watched Lord of the Rings way too much.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's funny though.
That's like the most vivid dream I've ever had, because I can still picture exactly what was happening in the dream when I think about it now.
Yeah, the majority of my dreams I remember. There are certainly ones that I don't, because they weren't really like, there was no plot to them. But I have a lot of dreams that have a definitive plot and overarching theme. It's ridiculous. And I've written about a lot of them on Facebook when they were ones that really were cohesive.
Yeah.
And I'll see them in my memories and be like, fuck, I forgot about that one. That was a bad one.
My worst ones are honestly when I lose my wallet or I lose my phone.
Anxiety dreams.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are the ones that I like. I will go, especially around my period, I'll have like nothing but anxiety dreams for like 3 or 4 days in a row. And it's exhausting because you feel like you wake up and you feel like you've been awake the whole time. Just doing dumb, mundane, everyday shit. And yeah, it's just like, I just want to rest. That's I've been actually, and a listener, I think it was Jeremy, if you're listening, I think it was you, right? Recommended putting some kind of like, he said that he was having vivid dreams, and somebody recommended putting like these essential oils on the soles of his feet, and that he doesn't know why, but it worked, and he hasn't had it since. And I still haven't tried it out. Mostly when people recommend essential oils to me, I roll my eyes wildly, and I'm just like, yeah, okay. But because he actually like himself did not think it would work and tried it and it worked, I'm kind of like, well, maybe then. And it really is at a point where I'm like, if it won't hurt me, I'll probably try it, because it does get exhausting to feel like your brain's been going all night as well.
Yeah.
It needs to be shut off sometimes.
Yeah, that's what sleep is supposed to be for.
Yep. But yeah, so this episode, it really just kind of got to me on that level, because it's like an electronic thing that is, invading people and taking away part of who they are, and they are left as like weird husks of themselves, and it was just really, really similar.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, this episode had a lot of things that I in particular also really like. For example, it had David Tennant making fun of the gendered division of domestic labor, which I'm always here for. It had a very kindly voiced and sort of dignified looking English woman as a villain. Mm-hmm. And I loved her voice so much, and I want her to read like all the audiobooks and everything forever, because I just love her voice. And it's an eternal regret to me that I don't have English accent of any kind, because old lady voices aren't the same without an English accent. I don't care about right now. I don't want an English accent now. I want it when I'm old.
Well, if you start practicing now, maybe you can train your brain to have it by the time you're old.
How pretentious would that be if I tried to do that? Oh my God. I would just lose all my listeners. Everybody would be like, that I would be the example that would be cited by BuzzFeed like 30 years from now of like the example of a successful podcaster who went too far and lost everything. Yeah. Oh my God. But yeah, so that, and also the weirdness of a cohesive, like I'm selling televisions as part of like an overall scheme to take over the world is such a strange, tiny, it's such a small scale. What's the word I want? Undertaking? Mm-hmm. You know, but I liked that it was so small.
And it made sense because people really didn't have that many televisions in their homes at that time. And with Elizabeth's coronation, that was a huge, huge thing. And it was the first televised coronation. So it really would be effective. It would have reached millions of people, which that The Wire wouldn't have the opportunity to do otherwise.
Yeah, I think that's my one like quibble with this episode is that it's called The Wire, and I'm like, I don't know why you decided to call this creature The Wire.
Yeah,
I feel like something would have been better, but you know,
I also kind of like
it was going to be a successful TV show later on.
I kind of like. Actually, it was already a TV show, I believe.
Was it? That's an even worse choice then.
Didn't The Wire start in like 99?
No, don't remember.
I think it did. Like, remember at the beginning, they barely had cell phones.
Jamie, I did 2 intros last week because I am so out of it that I can't even remember what day it is. I sure fucking don't remember like what year The Wire came out.
I'm pretty sure it was 99. Someone can correct me. But I like that they never explain what this alien is, where it came from, what it, why it was like supposed to be executed on its planet and managed to escape. Like, that's, who cares?
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I tend to, I think that with Doctor Who, I'm realizing that those episodes where they restrain themselves from having it be like a worldwide apocalyptic event are the ones that I really prefer. When things are on a slightly smaller scale, even if the story itself isn't like necessarily that compelling, I think the vibe of it tends to work better when it's a little bit more intimate. But I'm very much at the beginning of my assessment, so I may change my mind again. But
yeah, you may judge that on a case-by-case basis depending on how small scale or how well executed that small scale story is. I don't have any examples in mind, not that I could tell you if I did, but
all right, so let's start talking about Mr. Magpie.
Yeah.
Mr. Magpie is having some financial difficulties and is doing his weekly records and realizes that he's going to have to like go out of business. Like he says, I'm going to need a miracle. And behind him, there's a woman who's announcing the end of the programming for the evening on some channel, which I wish to God we had an end to programming at some point on television still. The fact that it's on all the time forever is one of those things that I'm like, I feel like the 24-hour news cycle especially has just contributed to so many problems. Can't we just have a downtime where it just all shuts off? But no.
Do you remember when it used to do that?
Oh, yeah.
Like you get up early enough in the morning and there was nothing on but those like color bars?
There was that felt natural. That felt like, well, yeah, it hasn't started yet. It's like a play, you know? They start when they're ready. But yeah,
and then it became infomercials all night.
Yeah, that was the thing. My dad would leave the TV on, and I would wake up to infomercials. And I would get very irritated by that because they're so annoying. And then it became, what's the Good Morning America? That was the thing that my mom would always have playing when I woke up later on. And that was like the thing. Good Morning America every morning for like 10 years. But yeah, so this dude is having his weird thing when he gets like this, the voice on the TV continues talking, and it is that woman, apparently, but it's not really. She's just using her voice. And then we cut to this family, and it's a really weird scene in some ways because they don't establish how, what's the word I want? I guess just straight up how abusive this kid's father is here. He seems like just a normal guy, and this is a normal family, and he's decorated from the war and everything, but it's really sort of, it felt like it came a little out of nowhere, how terrible he was when everything goes wrong with Grandma. And I don't know if it's supposed to be that he wasn't so bad until this happened.
Well, that's what I was trying to figure out this time around because I didn't remember the scene at the beginning where he didn't seem so bad. Mm-hmm. When they're like asking for a television and the grandma's like, oh, television turns her brain to soup. Mm-hmm. It seemed like he was just your average father.
Yeah. Agreed.
And then what happens to her happens, and suddenly he's like keeping her locked in a room and being really controlling and abusive. And I remembered that aspect of it. I didn't remember the scene at the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a strange direction to go.
Yeah.
And I feel like what the show is trying to do here is be like, see, even the people who try and fight fascism can somehow like be scared into siding with it if they're confronted with something that is unfamiliar and frightening enough. And I feel like that's a valid thing, but it kind of comes out of nowhere because we don't see when Grandma gets turned into this thing and his reaction to that. We come to the family once that's happened already.
Yeah, and we don't know how long it's been.
Yeah.
Because the Doctor and Rose sort of land in the midst of it. Like several people have been taken already. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I feel like if the show wanted this to be a thing, I feel like they needed to build on that a little bit more and have us see the gradual, like, you know, his fear and struggling with his conscience on whether to turn people in, and then going ahead and doing that and starting to become more and more paranoid and therefore more and more abusive.
I guess there's just no way to do that in the time constraint that they had.
I think there is, but they want to focus so much on Rose and the Doctor instead of and, you know, to a degree I get that, but I don't feel like that always makes for the most interesting stories.
Yeah.
But this outfit that Rose is wearing is pretty great.
Yes.
And also this little, is this I was about to say a Tesla. Vespa? That's the one.
I think it may not, it's that type of scooter. I don't know if it's actually a Vespa.
Vespa's a awesome fucking brand. Pink helmet.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wish.
It's great. I was watching this time and I was like, oh, if I was going to cosplay as Rose, this would be a really good one.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be really fun. The round pink sunglasses along with it. The whole look. I'm just really feeling it. This is just really my cup of tea. And yeah, the Doctor thinks that he's in New York and that they're going to go and see Elvis. Mm-hmm. And it is very much not New York. And
it's also not the right
year.
In the
wrong place. Oh, yeah. Incorrect year. He did want the 50s.
Yeah.
But it's not the 50 that he wanted.
He wanted 56, I think, and they land in 53.
Right. And yeah, it's, I really do want to see, and I know this is never going to happen, but I really do just want to see an episode where their plans work out. I I want them to just get to go to the Elvis concert. I just want, and I know like they talk about their cool, weird adventures where things do work out. Like she, you overhear her talking about it with Mickey and all the amazing things she's seen where her life wasn't in constant danger while they were visiting. So I know that it happens, but I remain unconvinced that it happens. I just never see it, and I just can't help but think that really nothing ever goes right. The TARDIS does not listen ever. And that I imagine it as just the kind of thing where you get a really like good looking recipe and it doesn't come out the first time, but you're convinced that it's your mistake and the recipe is still really good. And so you keep trying to make it and you keep almost getting it. And so it convinces you that you just need to try it again a bunch of times. And that's how I feel about the TARDIS, even though I know that it does work out for them sometimes. I'm just like, you guys need to stop trusting that thing. But yeah, I just want them to like, I want to see an episode where they do just like fit in with the crowd and they get to do something weird and wild and then just like, hang out, go back to the TARDIS again at the end and be like, well, that was a really nice time. Credits. That's what I want.
I wonder how successful an episode like that would be.
I do too. I'm also curious.
Wait till you see the next one then.
So we've got we have jumped ahead in time a little bit by the time they get there. And they're watching this like really weird television program with a puppet horse.
It's a real show. God, I think I have a note of what that show was. No, I don't. But it is a real show. I know I read something, but I was like, I guess I didn't think it was important enough. It reminded me of, what's that show with Lamb Chop? The like hand puppet.
The show's called Lamb Chop.
Oh, is it? I never saw it because I think it came out after I was a kid, and so I wasn't watching stuff like that anymore.
She said loftily.
I really have no like frame of reference. I did not know the show was called Lamb Chop. I just knew that there was a puppet named Lamb Chop that's like a sheep.
Yeah, that's the one that has "This is the song that doesn't end." You know that song?
No.
Yes, it goes on and on, my friend.
It sounds like I would hate it.
Some people started singing it, not knowing what it was, but they'll just keep on singing it forever just because this is a song that doesn't end. And it just goes around and around and around like that.
Wow.
Yeah, as a kid, it was the best thing ever. And as a parent, you literally wanted your child to die.
I was honest with my friends this weekend that I often buy toys for my friends' kids based on how annoyed I think it'll make their parents.
You are a demon. You know what? You better clean up your act, girl. Because St. Peter at the pearly gates, that's going to be one of the things that they check on. Did you buy a drum set for your nephew? She bought a Simon Says. Yeah, no, we're gonna get rid of that. Sorry, ma'am, you almost made it. Take her downstairs, boys.
Simon Says is really fun.
Those things, is that what they were called, Simon?
Yeah, Simon.
Simon, yeah.
Yeah, it was really fun.
They're also super loud.
Yeah. Yeah. We bought our friend's daughter this little guitar thing that made all kinds of crazy noises when she was like 2. And I was like, this is going to drive them crazy, but it's going to be really fun.
You're a monster.
And the kid will love it. I know. I'm not always a nice person. Sometimes I'm sneaky evil. I just think it's funny. You're the one who had kids. Kids are loud and they like loud stuff.
That's how it is. Everyone, please write some angry letters about this. I need Jamie to get dragged. Because I'm the Grinch. They banged their car tulas. They rang their car sninkas. The noise, 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 noise. That's me. Yeah, you're a monster.
I guess. Sometimes.
So this show is playing, and this is like, and they keep doing that thing where they film this dude from below and like at a weird angle to emphasize the fact that he's like very overbearing.
Yeah.
And this is when we hear that something has happened, and she says, "But what's wrong with her? Her face." And we hear this like pounding. And we never really see them doing the thing that causes that pounding. Is she just stomping her feet?
I don't know. I assumed it was a cane, but then we don't really see her with a cane.
No.
So maybe she was just stomping her feet. She can't yell.
I kept like waiting for that to be addressed, and it never ever is. It's just this sort of ominous thing that's happening when she's in the house to remind us that she's there. But it doesn't actually turn out to be anything, because I thought she was signaling to somebody or trying to, you know, but no. So yeah, this woman is not the only victim, as we find out, like just a moment later, because there are a bunch of weird men in black suits carting out a person covered in a blanket, whom this woman is yelling on the street like, "That's my husband," and did not authorize for this man to be taken away that he is being. And it's like, honestly, a really like sad moment of just, yeah, you know, if they want to come in and take him away, they're just going to go ahead and do that. And I guess we can't do anything. And it's meant to be like a parallel, foreshadowing, whatever, you know, all those things.
Is it?
I guess. I think it is. I think it's supposed to be like, based on how these men in black are dressed and where they're, and the whole vibe of them, I feel like it's supposed to evoke like the Gestapo a little bit.
Okay.
You know? But I might be wrong about that.
Well, did you notice how all the TV antennas kind of look like swastikas?
I did notice that, and I thought that was my imagination, but yeah, you're right. The first time, like, because there's the one that gets lit up at the beginning when the wire is first getting in touch with him. And in that instant, I was like, that looked like a swastika. And then it was sort of like, also looked like a burning cross for a moment. And I was like, you can pick either one of those, and I don't like either one of those. I don't want a burning cross or a swastika.
No.
And really tried to put it out of my head after that, but I'm glad you brought it up again, because I forgot that I had that connection in my head.
It was on purpose. This piece of trivia says that on the DVD commentary, one of the set directors mentions that this was done to evoke the post-war era.
Okay. Yeah, what a weird time it must have been, where you won the war, but there are still people running around who did horrible shit that you've got to track down.
Yeah.
And, you know, people still, like, literally putting weight back on, you know, like figuring out where to live now that their families are completely gone. Like, just the weirdness of the aftermath is something that I always am fascinated by.
And plus that whole post-war boom. Where everybody started having babies and, you know, they didn't have to ration food and everything anymore. So
yeah.
It feels prosperous. People have jobs. Men are coming back from war. And this is 53, so it's like 8 years after the war ended.
Yeah, that's just... I feel like I get what this episode was trying to do, and that they just missed it. I still really like the episode for my own weird reasons, but I feel like it doesn't quite hit the mark in that department for me. Mostly because of the abruptness with which they handled this dude who was supposed to kind of represent. It's the same as like the, you know, question in like fucking The Dark Knight, right? Where it's just like, are you willing to give up your privacy and freedom to be safer? And if you are, does that actually make you safer? Or are you just getting the illusion of being safe? And I feel like that's like trenchant right now. Because, you know, I don't need to get into it. But I just feel like it was one of those almost, oh, you were so close kind of lines that they were trying to draw there, you know? But, yeah, so this dude gets scooped up and carried away, and they try and follow them on their little scooter, but are not able to follow closely enough. So these guys, like, there's a gate that opens that they drive through, and then as soon as they're through it, the two dudes that are, like, in the alley close the gate behind them and then continue to sell fruit. And it looks like there's no door there at all. And it's very Indiana Jonesy to me. And both the doctor and Rose are like, this feels weirdly not English to me. What's going on here?
Yeah, the doctor says this is Churchill's England, not Stalin's Russia.
Mm-hmm. And this is when she says that maybe we should go and check with the neighbors. And he makes some crack about her always taking the domestic approach.
She's like, thank you.
Yeah. The way that she says thank you cracked me up. And then, wait, was that an insult? And immediate smash cut away to poor Mr. Magpie, who is like, hey, I really don't want to do this anymore. I feel like you're doing something to me and my eyes hurt, which really creeped me out pretty bad. And we never really find out exactly what that is. Yeah. And I find it to be all the more creepy because we don't. I actually like that they don't explain that. Okay. But I feel bad for him. Like she's decided to create this like situation that benefits her and also like is a monkey's paw success for him. Mm-hmm. But he gets evaporated later. Yeah. Just rude. Everybody else gets to come back, but poor Mr. Magpie.
Yeah, well, I think she did something slightly different to him.
She definitely did. Yeah. I just feel bad for him. He didn't want to be part of this. He was just having some money troubles. Yep. You know? And he didn't even, like, it's not like we see her be like, I can take care of all of your problems if only you would help me with something. And then he finally is like, yes, I'll do whatever you want. There's no scene like that where he like willingly decides to be part of this. Right. No, we just see her like invade his life.
Yeah. She's like starts to take his face. That's the last thing we see. And then the next time we see him, he's got his face.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. So I just feel really bad for him and R.I.P. Mr. Magpie. That's all I just wanted to make sure that we all paid our respects and raised a glass to him and buy a television. Everybody had a respect. So then we get the scene where the son is trying to bust into the room where his grandma's at, and she is locked in there. There's a key and a lock on the outside of the door. And he's about to go in and try and check on her, and his father catches him and is very, very angry about it. And he keeps on doing this thing from here to the next scene where he's fighting with his wife, where every time anybody tries to say anything, he screams back at them, I'm talking, as if they interrupted him when he was not talking, in fact.
No, he interrupted them, and then they tried to keep talking, and he said, I'm talking.
Yeah. And it's a very satisfying moment when David Tennant is able to scream back at him and I'm not listening. Mm-hmm. I just, some people are too good at acting like assholes and you need someone on the screen to do anything. And this guy is very good at acting like this asshole dude. Mm-hmm. This is like, what if Vernon Dursley was even more abusive? Yeah.
I did think about how this was very Dursley-like. Mm-hmm. Especially with him, like, being the one to inform on his neighbors and stuff.
I feel like this dude is also supposed to be a bit Hitler-esque. Did you get that at all? The way they've styled his hair, the mustache, the way he talks, and the expressions on his face when he starts yelling.
I didn't. I can see where you think that, though. It just didn't occur to me.
I'm not sure if that's on purpose or not, but I feel like it's probably on purpose.
The hair might be, for sure.
I feel like the hair plus the mustache makes it so that at certain angles, it's the likeness is very noticeable. But, you know, who knows? Oh my God. When he opens the door and Rose and the doctor go, "Hi!" I nearly died. It was just so good. The look on her face combined with her like little headband that she's got going on, and the doctor's fucking hair.
Oh, yeah.
His hair this episode is hysterical, and it's really, really funny later when he's angry. For some reason, being angry with that hair doesn't work for me, and I found it very funny.
If you guys are listening and haven't rewatched the episode, he has a very epic Elvis pompadour.
Yeah, it's pretty good. And I do feel like as the episode goes on and he gets more and more upset until he's finally like, now it's personal, they make it bigger and bigger. It might be my imagination, but I feel like that's what happens.
It is impressively tall.
Yeah.
I never have understood exactly how pompadours work because is it teased a bit?
Yeah, teased underneath, and then
it is.
There's a top layer that's like scooped over it smoothly.
I have to say, I've always been a fan of that hairstyle. I don't know why.
Have you?
Yeah, I like it. I like a pompadour. I think it's a neat hairstyle.
Why is that so hilarious to me?
In the 90s, there were a lot of boys who went through a pompadour phase, and I was like, all right, I can dig it.
Oh, my God.
That's all right. I think it was like everybody had floppy hair, and then all of a sudden everyone was like, I'm going to be like Morrissey, and like pompadour their hair back, and I was like, oh, I can see your face. Neat.
Huh, interesting. Well, I'm not generally a fan of big hair on men, so I can't say the same, but I respect your opinion.
Okay. I think I'm a fan of big hair on anyone. I just really like, we've established this, I like big hair.
Okay, so they show up at his door.
At least this time it's not specific to David Tennant.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Because I was thinking that was where you were going initially. Was that you just really like this hair on him?
I don't
which I think is what made it so funny that you just like pompadours in general. Yeah. That was so not what I was expecting you to say.
He pulls it off fine. It's not my favorite look for him. But I do appreciate the skill that goes into making his hair look like that. I don't know.
Oh, this guy. Okay, so they come in and they've got that psychic paper that makes him think that they're officials from the government. Mm-hmm. And they're giving him a hard time trying to figure out kind of how much he's going to be willing to tell them. And the doctor recognizes pretty quickly that they're hiding something and that the husband is not going to be the one to give them the information. So he figures out a way to get him out of the way, which is tell him to hang the flags. Because you're supposed to be patriotic. And what the hell are these flags doing here? Sitting on the couch and not being hung up the way that they are supposed to be.
Well, that's women's work.
And Rose, are those Union Jacks? That's the Union flag. It's the Union Jack, only when flown at sea. Oh, I'm sorry. I do apologize. Well, don't get it wrong again. There's a good man. Now get to it. Oh, my God. She looks like she is legit turned on after she tells him to get to it. She bites her lip and turns and looks at the doctor like, are we almost done here, sweetie? I need to see you in the bedroom real quick.
But she's only turned on by herself. She's like, I've always wanted to do that.
Kind of, yeah.
Look at me being all bossy.
She just, I loved it.
And knowledgeable about the flag, which I didn't know the Union Jack was only called that when it's flown at sea.
I didn't remember it, but I've heard it before. And then when she said, oh, you hung it upside down at the end, I had forgotten that was a thing too. Because I have seen people like on YouTube comments of things being like, your flag in the background is hung upside down. And I remember looking and being like, is it? How can you tell?
Yeah.
And I still don't know because I just don't care enough to find out.
It seems like a very symmetrical image to me, so...
That's what I thought as well, but evidently people... It's sort of the kind of thing that I feel like it's not that noticeable, but when you do know, you have to let everyone know that you can tell. Because it's like... It's sort of... It's one of those, like, really irritating things that doesn't matter at all, but people just like to fucking find a problem. And... I just really like, there's some things like that in the world. Am I wrong?
Yeah.
That everybody who is like pedantic and annoying is always going to be like, actually, it's Frankenstein's monster.
Yeah.
Not Frankenstein. It's just like, oh my God, nobody cares. Nobody ever has. And nobody ever will.
This
and
is the one thing that I'm smart
dialogue.
about, and I'm going to make sure you know it.
Right, exactly. So that's kind of how I feel about people who are like, the flag's upside down. I'm like, literally nobody cares but you and 3 other people. It's fine.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, they get him out of the way, putting up these flags while they begin to question the mother and son about what's going on. And they don't get very far because he overhears and then is like, well, this is still my house and I still have a say, unfortunately. And interrupts their whole deal. Mm-hmm. Rose, though, she's a smarty pants. They do go upstairs and see the grandma, who has no face. It's real creepy. Mm-hmm. I feel like it's just CGI, right? It's not makeup.
It's gotta be. I don't actually have an answer for you, but I was looking at it closely, like, is this makeup? If it is, it'd be really hard to breathe under there, which makes me think it has to be CGI because it's very perfect. Yeah, I feel like there's probably like because when he does his light like that, you can see reflecting off of her forehead at one point with the sonic screwdriver. That I feel like is. You can see the line between the light where her forehead is and the rest of her face. Like, they kept the real forehead in the picture because that was the reflection. That was the moment where I was... Because initially I did think that it was makeup and I was like, whoa. But then as he got closer, and then later on with Rose, it's very clearly CGI. I feel like they made sure the CGI looked very good for this one moment with the grandma, and then after that they were just kind of like, well, you get the picture, and they didn't really make as much of an effort on everybody else, which doesn't bother me at all. They don't really need to. Once you've got that first like impact of it, I feel like you're good. Would you agree? Yeah, I'm trying to find if it is CGI or not.
And this is the point where the doctor the Graham gets scooped up by strange men in black, and he follows them. And meanwhile, Rose is in the living room cracking the case and has started to figure out that there's something going on with the televisions, that they are all being purchased from the same place. That's the only change that there was in the households where this has started to happen. And she goes and faces down with Mr. Magpie about it. Who I just feel so sorry for, because she comes at him the way that you would if you think that somebody is a villain, and he's a victim as much as anyone. But of course she doesn't know that.
Yeah.
And I really just feel so bad for Mr. Magpie. I do.
It seems like she doesn't have any reason not to think that he's the one doing this.
Of course. Yeah. So yeah, this, so she gets, her face sucked off by the Wire, the Wire is such a weird villain because, first of all, it's called the Wire, which is right there strange. Secondly, it needs to like suck people's faces off somehow to become manifest. The whole concept is weird. But then there's also like, she's this, apparently sort of dignified English woman who then dissolves into hungry, feed me. And it's just such a weird, abrupt change from previous, like, oh, hello, dear. No, I'm going to be doing this thing and stealing the, souls of the world. And then all of a sudden, and it's just like, what is going on here? Which one of these personalities is the most real to The Wire? Like, is The Wire capable of like the kind of, or is it just taking advantage of this old lady's announceress's sort of speech patterns, and it really is actually a creature that just yells single words over and over again? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I thought that they used the hungry, feed me, I'm starving way too much.
They definitely did. It felt hilarious and awkward and just kind of like a complete non sequitur a couple times. Like I said, she had been saying something that was very eloquent, I guess is the word I want. And then suddenly just busts out with hungry. And I don't know. It just feels like Britta Perry on Community. Me so hungry. Me want pizza. Like, I don't know why they decided to have it be that way, and not just have her say, I'm getting a bit peckish, and then sucking her face off. Because I feel like I'm getting a bit peckish from this woman with her voice would be so much creepier.
Yeah.
You know? Could you get me a bit of a snack? I think it's about time for tea.
I would really like to see the filming of her just facing a camera yelling the stuff she has to yell. Because she acted clearly on her own.
Yep.
And recorded all of her stuff so they could put it on a television. So, what was that like? That had to be so weird. Because sometimes you think, like, acting is probably really awkward.
Oh, God.
But it's gotta be especially awkward when you're, like, Tony Stark in his suit and, Robert Downey Jr. is basically just filming by himself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do you react to something? Like, and with him, it's a little different because he actually has to react to things where she's just like, oh, no, yes, dear, I'm talking to you. And then suddenly has to scream out, hungry, hungry, over and over again. Like, how often does she do it and then start to laugh at herself?
Yeah, I feel that way about actors who have to do heavy CGI scenes, especially with CGI creatures. Mm-hmm. And you get to, like, see the moment where they're, like, being really emotional over a big, round, green piece of foam.
Yeah.
Somebody has the, before it's been edited moment. And I just can't imagine being in this enormous soundstage and having to clutch this piece of foam and weep copiously.
Did you see, there was this video that was released recently that was just a lot of Marvel scenes before the CGI. So you see, when Peter Parker is hanging on the top of the Washington Monument. And,
oh, right, yeah.
And really, there's actually a guy, like, standing there holding his butt so he doesn't, like, fall back too much because he's supposed to be, like, stuck to the monument. And there's a whole bunch of them where you're just like, oh, yeah, you're just sort of punching the air.
Yep, absolutely. There's no sort of about it. That is 100% the job.
The one thing they didn't show was, Cap holding onto the bottom of a helicopter and keeping it from flying away by holding onto a building,
God.
Which there was a partial part of a helicopter and it wasn't really flying away, but no CGI involved. It's good. They should have shown that. It's the best thing ever. Chris Evans' arms.
Yeah, his arms are it's like the eighth wonder of the world. But yeah, I think that's something that a lot of us, who don't live doing that kind of work are like, well, why would you want to go back to doing stage plays when you were a movie star? And it's because they have to do shit like that.
Well, that's funny because I think it was on Ryan Reisman's post recently about Idris Elba, where someone brought up, or Krista maybe brought up, that he, like, shit-talked being in Thor. and doing Marvel movies. And I was like, did he? And she like sent me or posted this article for me to read where he was shit talking that he had just finished playing Nelson Mandela and then he had to go back and do reshoots for Thor. And he just felt so stupid being in this stupid costume with these contacts, pretending to fall with all this CGI, and how, you know, like, all he could think was, I was just Mandela and now I'm wearing this stupid helmet and this hair is glued to my head. And he came off as really douchey and really like ungrateful for the opportunity he got by being in Thor. It really did up his like visibility to most of the world.
Right.
Most people didn't watch The Wire, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, he does not come off well in this interview. And maybe that is exactly how he felt, and you're reading it in print, and we don't know what the context was of the entire answer that he gave to whatever question was given. But that would be a huge, like, whiplash, sort of wrapping your head around, I was playing this very important character. It was a very serious movie. And now I'm pretending to fall off of a rainbow bridge. With all of this green shit around me and this dumb helmet on my head. It's like, well, yeah, but that's what you signed on for. You knew what you signed on for. It's a superhero movie. So
it was reshoots, you said.
It was, it was reshoots.
So he had done it already, and it was more the, like, realization coming back to it of how silly it was, right?
Yeah. It was either reshoots or pickups. But, yeah, it was, like, months after they'd finished making Thor. It was for Thor 2. And he had to go back and do some, like, pickup shots or whatever. So I can see where he's coming from, but also you probably shouldn't say it out loud in an interview because you sound like a dick. Yeah,
I feel like you probably shouldn't. Smart move, like, would be to keep your mouth shut. But also, yeah.
Yeah, I totally really... see his point. That would be very hard to get back into.
Yeah.
When you just played probably a person he really admired. But, I mean, you're an actor. You signed on to play the guard of the Rainbow Bridge. What did you think?
Well, that's what I mean. Like, if it was a and he was having that, it was more like, well, yeah, he signed up for it, and apparently, like, at first didn't really seem to mind how silly it was. And it wasn't until it was juxtaposed with this other thing that he really was like, oh, God.
Yeah. I was a serious actor for the last 4 months, and now here I am hanging from a wire in this uncomfortable harness.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's also a reason why Robert Downey Jr. is like, I'm not going to do another Iron Man movie. And Chris Evans is like, hey, I've done 9 of these. I'm good now.
Right.
It's a lot of work, and it's a lot of silly work that they made a lot of money for, but it's exhausting. And, you know, you probably feel really stupid a lot of the times. Like, what the hell am I doing? I would imagine even with Doctor Who, there are moments where they're like, I mean, what are we doing here?
Oh my God, are you kidding me? Like, yeah, I'm sure, you know, you're all very professional and you all do what you need to do, but there definitely have to be moments when you're just like, I'm yelling at a puppet. I'm screaming and crying while being manhandled by a puppet. And they're paying me quite a lot to scream and cry while being manhandled by this puppet.
Yeah.
So, So, all right. Back to the thing. Rose gets her face sucked off.
Yeah.
And then we go to the doctor being interrogated. And
I really love that scene.
He just turns it around and it's just like, don't you want to be investigating, though? And they're like, well, yeah, but we don't have the manpower. We don't know where to start. And he's like, tell me everything you know.
Which is the first thing that the investigator said to him.
Yeah, that's right. So he turns it around. Because they have the whole thing switch around where he's sitting and they're standing over him. Mm-hmm. And then by the end, he's standing over them.
Yeah. It's a very well done little scene.
I just don't understand the, you know.
Caging them up in a warehouse?
No, that I totally understand. What the hell are you going to do with these things? But I don't understand being like, all right, I'll help. Tell me everything you know to me, a complete stranger from the street. And them just being like, yeah, all right, we'll involve you in our in-depth investigation of paranormal activity. No questions asked. Sure thing. That does not make any sense at all, but it's fine. So yeah, this is when they get the map out and show him all of the incidents of this happening, and they're all concentrated in this like particular neighborhood. And they bring in the newest victim, and it's Rose. And she was simply abandoned on the street.
Yeah.
And he loses his mind.
Yep.
He is very angry.
Now there's nothing that can stop him.
I enjoyed the growing rage, as he said, they just found her on the street. Like, the way that he plays like, your mind thinking through the sequence of events and getting more and more upset by it. It just felt very real, you know? So yeah, this moment is pretty good. And like I said, I'm pretty sure from here on out, his hair is 20% bigger. I would like somebody to do some measurements for me, but I don't think I'm wrong on this. So it's Coronation Day, and this fucking dude is telling his wife to smile, and I just want to grab his dumb head and smash it into the plate of deviled eggs. I can think of no greater insult to give a person than to force their face into a plate of deviled eggs. That's so disgusting to me. Deviled eggs are, they should be called deviled. Like, what kind of fucking demon monster comes up with the idea? Oh, fucking boiled eggs in general are just something that's like the food that you eat when you're Frodo trying to get rid of the ring, and no other time. I'm on the road. I have no other options, and I just need to eat to stay alive until tomorrow.
That's probably the only thing that would get me to eat hard-boiled eggs. Because I love eggs. But
I love eggs too. It's just, I
hate the taste of a hard-cooked yolk. It's so disgusting.
Why did you have to say it like that, too? Hard-cooked yolk.
Instead of soft-cooked.
Jamie. Ugh. Gross.
Ugh. They're so, I hate them. And so because, I don't actually mind the hard-boiled white part as much, but if it has any, remnant of that yolk on it, I can't. I hate that flavor.
For me,
so I've never had a
the whites that give it the I farted in your mouth kind of flavor.
They definitely do.
And I can't handle that.
Yeah. I mean, I generally don't like hard-boiled eggs. I think they're really nasty. I never eat them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, nothing enrages me like ordering a salad at a restaurant and it comes with hard-boiled egg on it and they didn't mention that.
Yeah.
Like, you mention fucking hard-boiled eggs. That is a divisive fucking food. You don't just put that on shit and then be like, well, it just comes like that. This isn't Poland. No, we don't do that here. Ugh,
I love, as a vegetarian, people are like, well, how about an egg salad sandwich? And I'm like, oh, how about I just throw up right now? No. Give me that garbage.
And don't get me wrong. Do you know what? Owen and I, on Valentine's Day, we went to a tea place and had tea. And I bit into a sandwich that I did not know was an egg salad sandwich. And to my chagrin, it was fucking delicious. It was so good. But nevertheless, that will never happen
I've never had egg salad either because I don't like hard-boiled eggs. And I don't want that yolk.
I just didn't I didn't know what it was. And it had tarragon in it or something. It was lovely.
I do love tarragon.
And it wasn't until he was like, this is egg salad. Because he didn't think he liked it either. And we were both like, well, shit.
Does that kind of make you mad too? Where you're like,
oh, yes.
God damn it.
Yes. Apparently, I can deal with hard-boiled egg if it's as long, the texture that bothers you is not what gets to me. It's the smell. So if there's mayo and there's herbs in it and all of that fart smell is covered up by something, I'm okay, apparently. But I'm never going to make egg salad because I'd have to handle the eggs while they're still in fart smell stage. And I can't do that.
Every time you call it fart smell, it just makes
Fart
me
smell.
laugh.
I hope Rashawn isn't listening to this episode because she's just turned it off. She can't handle the F word.
I did see on a cooking show, Trisha Yearwood's cooking show, she made these deviled potatoes. She used like little potatoes and baked them, but not all the way through, and then cut them in half and scooped them out as if she were doing twice baked potatoes. But then she mixed the innard part with what you would make egg salad or like deviled eggs with, and then stuffed it into the shells of the potatoes and then baked them a little bit longer, and that did sound very good.
So what you're saying is you would like deviled eggs if the eggs were completely taken out of the equation.
I would like deviled eggs if they were deviled potatoes, yes.
Gotcha. Yeah, I feel like there's really very little that you could do to a potato that I would be like, no, I don't really feel like trying that.
No, it's a perfect little food.
Most things that you do to a potato, I'm going to be on board for and interested in.
I made a baked potato and actually baked an egg in it.
Oh, yeah, I've done that. That's banging.
Oh, my God. It was one of the best breakfasts I've ever had. Mm-hmm. Ugh. Baked eggs, by the way, are fucking delicious.
Those out there who like savory breakfasts, a baked potato with a egg with a slightly runny yolk on top is one of the best fucking things in the whole wide world.
Yep. And you can like do it all up like a baked potato too. Put your bacon on it if you eat bacon and put some cheese on there. Oh, it's perfect.
Why are we talking about this?
I don't know.
Killing
I'm
me.
pretty hungry.
Me too. Damn it. God damn it. I am though. I've been doing Weight Watchers, and there's some foods that were like staples for me, and one of them was tuna salad with tea in the afternoons was something that I was doing all the time. And I had to figure out like the points values for certain things, and I get about 35 points a day. And I did the math on my tuna sandwich and tea, and do you know how many points it added up to?
I have no idea.
It was like 29 points.
Oh my God.
Because of the mayo. There's so much mayo. It's so bad for you.
What if you use light mayo?
Jamie?
I know, it's not real mayo.
Listen, I would rather eat a half serving than try and fucking trick my body into believing that it's getting the thing that it likes. That's just mean. That's like throwing a ball, like pretending to throw the ball with a dog.
Yeah, it's mean.
And the dog like turns and runs and then stops and looks at you and is like, wait a second.
You're so betrayed.
That's what it's like giving yourself diet versions of food. Absolutely fucking not. No. Mm-mm.
I know. That's why I don't get light sour cream. Why would I do that?
So, like, people out there buying Halo Top ice cream. Guys, why are you doing this to yourselves? Everybody, stop punishing yourselves.
Just portion control.
Watching it. It's so painful to watch.
I didn't know that
take
Halo
it
Top
out
was...
on your taste buds.
Is Halo
what did
Top
they ever
not
do
good,
to you?
though?
What's that?
Is Halo Top not good?
It's disgusting.
Really?
And anyone who thinks differently can suck 1,000 hard-boiled eggs. Halo Top to me is like straight up sawdust.
Really? I've never
that's
had
had
it.
like some half and half poured over it. Huh. Oh, it's so disgusting. I couldn't even finish the one spoonful of it.
Wow.
That's how bad it was. I bought it all excited. Everybody's saying, oh, it's totally like, I got a flavor that sounded amazing. And yeah, I took a half a bite of the first spoon and was like, oh my God, and put it down and picked the whole thing up and threw it all in the trash. Yep.
Well, good. That saves me. Because I always look at it, then I'm like, but I know I like Ben & Jerry's. Mm-hmm. So when I get ice cream, because I don't get ice cream very often, I don't love ice cream. I like it just fine, but I have to really want it. And Ben & Jerry's is the way I always go. Mm-hmm. Unless I can find an ice cream cookie sandwich.
Oh, I fucking love ice cream cookie sandwiches. Those and Choco Tacos. Oh,
I've never had a Choco
them.
Taco.
Girl.
Man, we need to stop talking about food.
Get a Choco Taco, like ASAP, though.
Okay.
Okay, but yes, agreed. I would rather have half a cup of real gorgeous ice cream than mess with myself having 2 cups of fucking whatever the hell that spawn is that they put in a container. Ugh, gross. Anyway, let's go to this little kid who's telling his dad that he's a fascist now. That's pretty good. Being like, oh, you're the one who turned Gran in. And his dad being like, how dare you talk to me like this, little scum like you, calling me a coward. And he's like, you fought so that I could do that. And then their mom turns out to have overheard everything and is like, you turned my mom into the cops? Are you fucking kidding me? And it's pretty brutal.
Yeah.
I didn't suspect him
she's
at
a
all.
monster. And she's like, she's my mother.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he calls her a thing.
Yeah.
I was like, dude. But yeah, did you suspect him the first time you watched this? Did you think he was the one turning everybody in?
I don't remember the first time I watched it. And I think I didn't pay that close attention to this episode, to be honest.
Okay.
Because the second time I watched it, I was like, well, I don't remember like any of this. So
yeah.
I did start to be suspicious of him early on because of some weird look he had when the doctor was talking about people being taken away. And he had that sort of like shifty expression on his face that wasn't just irritation that these people were in his house.
Right.
And I was like, oh, I bet he's the one who turned her in. But I don't know that I expected or suspected that he turned everyone in.
Yeah, I definitely didn't. I think because it doesn't make a ton of sense that he was turning everyone else in before Grandma.
Yeah.
You know, like he would have called the cops about what was going on in his house first, if anything, because he's somebody who's like interested in his own self-preservation.
It just seems like a very like Dursley thing to do, though.
To be worried about
to not only like your own, like, oh, this thing is in my house now and I have to get rid of it before anybody finds out, but knowing that other people have them, being like, we need to weed out these things from our neighborhood.
Yeah, that's true. I guess but they needed her to still be around so that the doctor could see her.
Yeah.
So they move on to the magpie's den. It's his nest.
Yeah.
And the doctor licks this Bakelite thing for some reason.
He's always like licking things. I'm like, okay, you're different. You're an alien, I guess, but why do you gotta lick everything?
It just makes me deeply uncomfortable. But he realizes that there's some other source of power in the room, and as he's saying that and looking around for it, all of the stolen faces appear on the TV. Yeah. And I was like, that's pretty cool. I didn't expect that one at all.
Yeah, it is.
And they aren't conscious of like, Rose is talking, but she's not talking to him. She doesn't know he's there.
She's just calling out to him. Mm-hmm. Which, the only thing that bothered me about that is that it seemed like everybody else was calling out for help. Like that's what they were saying when their faces were taken off. Mm-hmm. And we know that she was not saying that. She was not calling out for the doctor. She was... What was she saying? Like, stop, help. Same thing as everyone else.
Was she?
Well, I don't
remember.
I don't have a transcript, but I don't think she called out for the doctor.
I didn't even know that she called out. Like, you're talking about when her face was being taken off?
Yeah.
I don't remember her getting a chance to call out anything.
Well, it takes a little while.
No, but she's yelling at Magpie to do something.
Yeah.
That's what she's yelling.
So, yeah, it's a tiny little quibble, but it kind of irritated me that she's calling out for the doctor instead of her just saying help.
Okay, because I interpreted this as them having a consciousness somewhere else and being trapped and calling out for help, completely unrelated to what was happening when their face got taken.
Okay,
but maybe it is. I don't know.
It could be either one because they never give us a direct answer one way or the other.
But yeah, so she, then the wire pops up and explains itself.
Yep.
Taking people's faces, their essence, as it stuffs itself. Mm-hmm. And, she promised to release me at the time of manifestation, and she allowed me to keep my face. is what Magpie is saying as his reasoning for why he had to do this. And, you know, one could say that, well, she didn't come after me. She let me get away, so I just let everybody else get taken. But, like, honestly, being allowed to keep your face, that's a pretty big plus. I'm not mad at you, Magpie. Like, dude, sometimes you just kind of gotta, like, look out for number one. What are you gonna do? And I'm not confident that Magpie could have done absolutely anything to stop this from happening. So,
no.
You know, what are you gonna do? Sometimes bitches' faces gotta get got. So the coronation is where they realize, like, oh, that's what she's going to be doing. There's going to be more people watching the television than any other time in history. And she is going to gobble them all up and manifest herself.
Should have just waited 100 years. And
right?
Like, not 100 years, but she should have just waited for Game of Thrones. You want a lot of people watching something all at once.
That would be such a... Oh, man. I would love that if The Onion had a weird headline after the premiere and was just like, millions of Americans faceless and afraid.
Americans worldwide.
Wandering the streets. But yeah, I want to know what The Wire looks like once it's manifested. Does it manifest looking like this woman?
I don't know.
I would love that. Because
it just crawls out of the TV like the girl from The
form.
Ring.
Yeah, you know, like, just, I kind of low-key wanted it to happen. I was wanting this to be a two-parter. A little bit. Just because I was like, but let it come out. Let's see this thing, you know? But no. So this is when it tries to take all their faces. And the doctor is able to stop her in time from stealing his own face. And she doesn't get the boy, but she does get the FBI agent.
No, he's just a detective inspector. He's just a local
cop.
Oh,
okay. Oh, right. Federal Bureau of Investigation is an American thing.
Yeah.
Forgot about that. But yeah, so then this causes her to accelerate her plan a little bit because she realizes that the doctor is armed and can fight back somehow. And she jumps over into this Bakelite box and sends Magpie off on his errand to attach her to the giant aerial that hooks to all of the houses nearby. And she just keeps on screaming, "Feed me," as he's doing that. And it's just the worst. I hated it. I hated it so much. She was so creepy and weird and awesome. And then they just had to like overdo it with this weird thing and ruin it. The faceless thing is pretty good. I keep it like there's the their hands opening and closing.
Yeah, they never explain that.
No. And again, I kind of like it. There's something just so extra creepy about that movement and how deliberate and rhythmic it is.
Yeah.
Not knowing why they do it makes it just that much creepier. I like it.
All right.
This whole episode was full of elements that I really, really liked, and I feel like it just missed being really, really good. But I was still here for it. All right, so Doc has to catch up with this dude, has to pretend to be the King of Brussels.
Belgium.
I think is what it is. Belgium. Right. And we get to see footage of the actual coronation, like intercut with everything.
Yep.
Which is fascinating.
Especially if you've watched The Crown.
I have not watched The Crown.
It's pretty good. And there's a whole episode about her coronation and how it was televised and like where they were allowing cameras and where they weren't. So after seeing The Crown and then watching this again, I was like, ooh, neat.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, she, like, the carriage and the footman, it's straight out of an illustration of Cinderella that I had as a kid. It was really wild to see. And she's so young and pretty.
Yeah.
Like, it's so cool to see how... Just these moments in history. It's just wild, you know?
It's because we only know her as this older lady.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. I forget that she was, queen so young.
Yeah. I don't know what her
it as
exact
something she came
age
to.
was, but she was not married for very long
Yeah.
before her father died. She was, I believe they were, I learn a lot from TV, so they were in Africa when her father died, she and Prince Philip.
Okay.
And it was like a year or two maybe after they got married. So, yeah, she was pretty young. In her 20s.
Huh. That's crazy.
And she didn't expect to be queen because they expected her father to live a lot longer, even though his lungs were destroyed. I don't know how they ever thought he was going to live much longer. You should watch The Crown. It's very good.
All right. It's a TV series or is it a
It's on Netflix.
movie?
Yeah, it's a TV series.
Okay.
There's 2 seasons. The 3rd season is going to be coming out soonish. And they do a time jump, so they recast the queen to be older, and it's going to be Olivia Colman, who just won an Oscar.
Ooh,
playing the
that
queen.
chick. Yeah.
Yeah, and Tobias Menzies, who played the Red Wedding groom. What the hell was his name? Edmure?
Rob?
Edmure Tully?
Oh, the groom at the... Right, because Rob was already married.
Yeah, Rob was already.
Gotcha, yeah,
He's
yeah.
going to be playing Prince Philip, but in the first 2 seasons, it's Claire Foy as the queen and Matt Smith as Prince Philip.
Ah, okay.
It's very good. Oh, and Helena Bonham Carter is going to be in the new season too, playing the queen's
Weird.
sister.
I think I saw that somewhere, actually, that casting. That sounds familiar.
Yeah, the show's very slowly paced, but it's very intriguing and interesting. Like, you feel like, wow, not much is happening, and then you look back on it and you're like, well, a lot did happen. It just happened very slowly. Mm-hmm. It's nice. It's a nice pace. It's after watching so much dark stuff, it's kind of nice to just be like, oh, yeah, that was a nice relaxing hour I just spent watching this Netflix show.
Yeah, somebody commissioned Dairy Girls for Spoil Me. And I didn't know what it was, and it turns out that it's a hilarious comedy.
Is it? I've been meaning to watch it.
Check it out. It's hysterical. And it's been so nice with all of the really intense shit that I'm covering for Spoil Me, which is all really good, by the way. But to have something that's like a half-hour long comedy is really refreshing and nice to be able to be like, oh, I'm in a good mood now. Okay, let's talk about this.
And comedies are hard to cover as a podcast, especially like
Definitely.
an unspoiled kind of podcast. So,
yeah, the last episode I covered was the second one, and I spent like half of it talking about this bizarre food that this girl orders at a chip shop. And it turns out that it's like a potato sandwich. Listen, Jamie, I spent so much time getting angry about this. Anyway, go listen to the Dairy Girls Spoil Me episodes, guys. They're fun. But yeah, so, all right, we've got everybody starting to get their faces sucked off as the doctor tries and climb this this thingy to thwart the wire. And what is it that he tries to do? He tries to do something to, like, short it out.
yeah, I don't know.
That doesn't exactly work.
Well,
because she says, like, oh, has our plan gone horribly wrong? And it doesn't seem like it has slowed her down. And I'm not sure what he was trying to do.
I don't know exactly what he was trying to do, but I know what happened was that the bulb popped down in the room where Tommy is. And so Tommy is smart enough to, he runs around and finds a light bulb to put back in that contraption that doesn't pop.
Huh.
And that gives it enough power or whatever. I don't know. This goofy machine that the doctor threw together with radio parts.
Yeah, it's like, and when he finally does thwart her, this like scream that she gives as she sort of fades away is really so terrible. It's just, we were so close, guys.
And he like downloaded her onto a videotape, and he's like,
Yep.
I invented the first home video. Oh, well, Betamax.
Yeah, it says then that he's going to tape over her, which is really brutal. I love it.
Rose is like, just leave it to me. I do that all the time.
Back in the days where that was a thing that we did.
Yeah. God, I used to get so mad when people taped over my stuff.
But that was not like, we had one of those VCRs that we always thought we had it figured out finally, how to get it to do that, how to record things, and then it would just inevitably not record the thing we wanted proper. Like, it was just, so we stopped trying after a while. I was always so impressed when I would hear that people recorded things like with any consistency and were successful at it.
One of the biggest breakdowns I had was when I forgot to change the clock on my VCR when the time changed, and I had it set to record Buffy, and I was out.
Oh, no.
And I came home to watch Buffy, and it was whatever was on an hour earlier or later. I don't know which time the change went. And I was like, it was before you could like download something on the computer. And I was like, how am I ever going to see it? I lost my mind.
Yeah, back in the days when if you missed it, you fucking missed it.
Yeah.
And that was all there was to it.
Yeah. And it was a season 7 episodes. It was getting close to the end. And I like seriously had such a breakdown. And my roommate, like, she was like, let me see if I can find something online. And she managed to find a download that took like 8 hours to download.
Aww.
So that I could watch it the next day. So that was nice. It's probably the nicest thing we're not friends anymore, but it was one of the nicest things she did. But yeah, like fucking VCRs. Thank God for the DVR. It really, revolutionized
when that came
things.
out, I remember watching the Sex and the City episode where Miranda has her TiVo, and I was like, "This is crazy! I want one."
My dad got me one before DVRs were a thing you got from your cable companies. My dad actually got me a TiVo, and
yeah, I think that she bought it herself.
Yeah,
yeah. Yep.
That little boop boop noise.
That's something that's so like amazing nowadays that we can be like, well, which platform do you want to watch this thing on? There's like 11.
I saw somebody today who was like, because Disney said that they're going to be releasing every one of their movies on their platform. Like all the stuff that's in the vault, everything. And someone was like, who pays for streaming? And I wanted to be like, everybody. You fucking have Netflix, right? You pay for that shit. Like, what are you even saying? Who pays
They're
for
saying
streaming?
that they pirate shit and they think that's cool.
Well, then they're dicks. I don't know. Like, just be so highbrow about that. Who pays for streaming? Like, fuck you.
Yeah, it's not like porn.
Yeah.
Which I definitely have that attitude. Like, who pays for porn? What? But I think it's just comes from this like, well, you can get all of that stuff if you know how. And it's like, yeah, but I would like to watch it like on my actual television.
Yeah, I don't want to watch everything on my laptop.
Yeah. So anyway, he gets her on the tape and whatever. And then we have the weird ending that kind of ruined things for me where they're having like a block party in honor of the coronation. And I thought this was actually pretty cool. But then they encourage this young man to like go reconcile with his father.
Not they. Just Rose.
Just Rose. That's true. Why?
The only way that I can logic that is that she just recently saw a version of her father in another universe. And she has that daddy issue of like, you only have one dad.
Maybe. Yeah.
That was the only reason. Because otherwise I was like, no, fuck that guy. He doesn't need to have a relationship with his father. His father's an asshole.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, we saw one scene where he was reasonable at the beginning of the movie, or at the beginning of the episode. But it doesn't feel like that's who he was, because they were still filming. They just didn't show any progression of his character.
Yeah.
So you have to assume that's who he's always been.
Yeah.
And when the doctor is saying to this kid, no room for a man like Eddie Connolly, this kid is like, that's right, he deserves it.
Yeah.
And the doctor sort of nods and looks at Rose like he wants her to say something. So like that's kind of why I said that they convince him, because the doctor doesn't say it. But I got the feeling from his expression that he is agreeing with Rose and like wanted her to say something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I just took it as a very Rose thing. Because of her daddy issues.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't really need this kid to like, yeah. There are times where cutting people out of your life is just the smart thing to do. And when somebody is like he was, I feel like that's fair.
Yeah.
He can come and apologize if he wants to have a relationship. But there's no reason for you to come running after him.
Yeah.
But whatever.
Did you notice that they toasted with orange juice?
Oh my God. I didn't notice that.
It made me really happy. It's like, hey, look, orange juice. There it is. There is your orange juice.
There's somebody whose username on the Weight Watchers app, because there's like a group for patrons that are doing this with me, is "Where is my orange juice?" And it makes me really happy every time I see that they commented on something.
Jason's
"Where is my orange juice?" likes your photo.
Jason's sister wore her "Where is my orange juice" shirt while I was in Colorado, which I loved. It's so cute. It's so cute.
Yeah, thank you very much to Krista for that design. That was just so well done.
Yeah.
It's delightful.
I have a couple of trivias, not too many.
Okay.
This was written by Mark Gatiss, who, as we've discussed before, is an actor on Sherlock and also in Game of Thrones. He also wrote the other sort of post-World War, during World War II story, The Doctor Dances, and whatever the first part of that was.
Right.
Where's My Mummy?
Where's my mummy? Yeah.
So he clearly has a fascination with this era of time.
Mm-hmm.
And this was originally written for the Ninth Doctor. Tommy was originally going to be played by Nicholas Hoult, and Tommy had a crush on the Doctor. That would have been interesting.
Yeah. Everybody falls in love with the Doctor.
The Doctor was supposed to have a line about having trouble with radio transmitters, which was supposed to be a reference to another episode where the Fourth Doctor fell from a transmitter and died.
Oh.
I don't know why they took that out, but I guess maybe a lot of us wouldn't have caught that reference.
I think it was Kim Nister that left that comment about how in the previous episode it was supposed to be that that Ricky was the actual romantic partner of the man who was left behind that Mickey wound up becoming friends with.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I didn't know if you saw that
I
comment.
don't think I missed that
but they
part.
just chose to edit it out of the episode for whatever reason, and I find that disappointing.
Yeah. The Wire's repeated demand to feed me is reminiscent of the big killer plant Audrey 2 in Little Shop of Horrors.
Mm-hmm.
And the woman who played the grandmother had previously appeared in an episode of Doctor Who 38 years earlier.
Wow,
So
that's pretty cool.
She holds the record for the greatest span of time between guest appearances on Doctor Who.
That's cool.
Yeah. And we have a couple reviews.
Ooh, what's up, guys?
The first one is the perfect show among all the hate to show us the magic and wonder of the universe. 5 stars by Happy Reader 007
Hey, thanks, Happy Reader.
from the UK.
You've made us happy readers.
They say, almost everyone listening to this show is already a Doctor Who fan, and with the internet currently ranting that a woman might dare to save the universe, hearing Natasha experience the magic and wonder of the universe is a great reminder of just why I love the show and have done for over 15 years. With Natasha being completely unspoiled, including on what episodes are regenerations, it's amazing to hear her thoughts on each episode and her finding something to enjoy in most of them, even the ones that are considered terrible. And apologies in advance for making her watch some truly horrible ones in the coming weeks. Hey now. For a Doctor Who fan struggling in the fandom with all the rage that is out there right now, this is the one to remind you just why the show brings out so much passion, both good and bad.
Nice. That's cool.
Yeah. And the second one is, and they are fantastic. 5 stars by Alice Bromley McEwen from the U.S.
Hey, Alice. I know Alice.
If you are a fan of the New Who and you want to relive that joy again from the beginning with someone that is just discovering it, this is the Unspoiled podcast for you. Natasha is new to Who, and Jamie, who has watched all of New Who is familiar with Old Who, but not snarky about it. She gives just enough for those of us who are in the know to be in on the joke, but not enough to clue Natasha in or spoil anything for her. She plays dumb with brilliance. Thank you. I like to listen while I'm getting my Fitbit steps in, while I'm walking around in my dark and dreary home, thinking of the days gone by and remembering the days of York or Yearn, or was that Yonder? Who remembers? It was a long time ago and I forget. It's just one of those old timey-wimey things. So
I feel like there were a bunch of inside jokes in there.
There may be, but I'm wondering if it's a reference to us talking about the days of yore.
The days of yesteryear.
What did we call it? The mysteries of yesteryear?
The myths of yesteryear.
Myths of yesteryear.
Oh, God.
So thank you guys for your reviews. I'm always excited to see that we got new ones, and I'm glad that everybody's enjoying the show.
Same. Yes. Thank you guys very much for that. You know what? Next week I'm going to read new patron names because I haven't done that in a minute. So I'm going to do that and give you all the credit that you deserve for supporting the show.
Yes.
I'm excited because we are getting further into Twilight coverage for those of you who are $5 and up patrons. And I had forgotten some of the ridiculous stuff that comes up, and I'm super, super excited to get to it. And we have just reached the point where it is official, and Edward is out of the closet, so to speak, out of the coffin. And Miles's opinions on it all are gold, and he's just really enjoying himself.
That's fun.
So anybody who is looking for like a lighthearted good time, this has been a fun podcast to do. Is the Twilight one?
I just started listening to the first episode, not episode 0. I listened to that one, but I just started listening to your first official episode today. So I'm excited about it.
The one we just recorded on is the one where she just goes onto her quote favorite search engine and just types in vampires. And then complains that there's like so much to sift through. And then very, very rebelliously shuts the computer down from the main power switch without waiting to properly shut it all down. And I just love that that specifically mentioned like she's just doing something so irresponsible. It's so great. This book is got a lot of really good gold nuggets buried in it.
I will listen to the podcast, but I'm not rereading those books.
Listen, if you get a chance to listen to the audiobook, a lot of it is fine. But when it's not, it's weird. It's not even like bad. It's just she lapses into this like accent every now and then by accident. And I'm not sure what it is. It vaguely feels Southern, but also like maybe Boston. I don't know. But I get the feeling that this woman is like trying to keep her accent at bay through most of it. And then it like comes out at really weird moments for some reason, mostly when it's Edward talking, which is what's so funny for me. But anyway, yeah. So guys, become patrons, patreon.com/unspoiled. And you can find us at Facebook, facebook.com/unspoiledpod, Twitter at Unspoiled Show, Instagram at Unspoiled Podcast. You can find me on Twitter at Natasha Writing. I don't know if Jamie wants to share her Twitter. You don't have to.
My Twitter is at It's Jamie. Jamie is spelled Jaime.
It's Jamie.
It's Jamie.
And yeah, guys, I hope that you've been enjoying this. Thank you guys all for the reviews, and we'll be seeing you soon with a new episode. Toodaloo, motherfuckers.
Bye.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.